Story 1. It means more coming from a stranger. I waited outside a concert venue for a ride once when a girl said, "You are beautiful." I couldn't tell if she was talking to me since she was behind me when she said it. When she got picked up, her mom yelled out the window, "My daughter thinks you're beautiful." Beautiful is a rare compliment. I usually hear hot or fine. Story 2. Handsome refers exclusively to someone's appearance, while beautiful can be used to describe someone's character. I would consider it a great compliment regardless of the intent. Story 3. About 5 years ago, I complimented a woman. "You're very beautiful." She responded, "You're beautiful too." That is all. Story 4. I call my husband beautiful regularly. He doesn't believe he is, but he knows I mean it and appreciates it very much. Story 5. I worked as a cashier for a while in my teens, and a woman told me I had beautiful eyes around 1997, which I still remember. Story 6. Bold of you to assume that most of us even get called handsome in the first place. To answer the question, it would be pretty awesome, though. Story 7. I regularly express my affection for my male partner. His smile and eyes light up, conveying how much he means to me. Men deserve to know how important and appreciated they are for their ongoing efforts. He is incredibly sweet and would do anything for me emotionally, spiritually, and physically. One time, I bought him flowers for no reason, and he looked like he was about to cry. He truly is a positive presence in my life. We are approaching 12 years together. Show your partner how much they mean to you. They may not realize how much they would appreciate such gestures until someone does it spontaneously. Story 8. I am often called a beautiful bastard by male friends and coworkers. Anyone who is alarmed by gendered compliments is extremely fragile. Story 9. Instead of handsome, it suggests an expectation that any of us understands what being called handsome feels like. Story 10. I told a man he was beautiful before, and he got upset because he thought I believed he was gay. I did not think that. Story 11. I'm a burly 40-year-old man with a big beard, and a girl in her 20s once told me, "I love your beard. You look so cool." This was about 2 years ago, and I'm still riding that high. If someone told me I'm beautiful, I think I would be overwhelmed. I've been called handsome a few times, mostly by my mom, but beautiful? That would be something extraordinary. Story 12. Better truthfully. Handsome feels obligatory, potentially dishonest, perhaps just to be nice. Beautiful comes from the soul. It would also be included in the compilation of critical moments I want to relive right before I die. Story 13. It's nice and meant as a compliment, and that's exactly how it should be taken. If a woman tells you you're beautiful, you're in great shape. Beautiful is not a gendered term. It is simply beautiful. Story 14. In the 4th grade, someone told me I had beautiful eyelashes. That was almost 30 years ago, and I still think about it regularly. Story 15. Probably like that person from Dave Chappelle's Player Haters Ball sketch. Walking around with hairspray and everything. Story 16. Most of the time, compliments make me uncomfortable because my self-esteem doesn't usually allow me to accept them. I typically respond with a polite thank you or deflect them with humor. Story 17. Someone told me this on Monday, and it made me feel great about myself. In many ways, it felt like a few steps beyond handsome. Story 18. I don't think it's quite the same thing, but I get called pretty a lot by both men and women. I have a solid head of hair, high cheekbones, and light-colored eyes. From men, it's often a backhanded compliment, but sometimes it's genuine. When it comes from women, it's more consistently positive, but there is still a strange vibe. There is definitely a segment of the female population that desires something rougher. I feel like beautiful is more all-encompassing, though. For example, Henry Cavill is beautiful. You would be hard-pressed to find a better model for a sculpture. John Hamm is handsome. His bone structure is prominent, but I'm not sure he meets that same standard. Beautiful feels like a much bigger compliment. Story 19. I would be extremely confused and assume the compliment was meant for someone who was actually worthy of it. Story 20. I got called a looker the other day. Well, voyeur was the actual word she used, but I think we all know what she meant. Story 21. I appreciate the compliment. I am a bit confused by the phrasing, but I assume it's either a random word choice or I did something unconventional that day. Story 22. I'm used to talking with people whose first language is not English, so I assume they meant it in the same way. Story 23. The first time I was genuinely approached by a man, I felt like $1,000,000. I bought him a drink and we became friends. We lost touch a few years ago. Scotty, if you were out there, thank you for always making me feel special. Story 24. Honestly, I take it as a compliment. Beautiful is versatile. It's like the Swiss Army knife of compliments. Handsome is cool, but beautiful is next level. Story 25. For me, there is a distinct difference between calling a man handsome and beautiful. Handsome acknowledges good looks, but beautiful speaks to a deeper quality, encompassing character and essence. It's a rare compliment I reserve for those who resonate on a profound level. I apply a similar distinction with women, often praising their appearance as beautiful, but rarely using the word to describe their whole being. I've only used beautiful to describe 2 men and perhaps 1 woman, because it signifies something far more meaningful. Story 26. A woman at the gym called me a beautiful man, and honestly, I thought that was better than being called handsome. My life hasn't been the same since. Story 27. I'm uglier than a haystack full of trouble. If anyone called me pretty or handsome, I would assume they are looking for money. Story 28. I would feel like that was a lie because I am objectively not beautiful either outside or inside. I could potentially be described as rugged, maybe, but not beautiful. Internally, I am just too crabby and jaded to be beautiful. Story 29. Either is fine. They convey similar feelings. Unless someone specifically says beautiful instead of handsome in the same sentence, I wouldn't think much of it, just that a different word is used. Personally, I prefer using beautiful, as it generally holds a deeper meaning than handsome. Story 30. Definitely feels much better than handsome. When I think of beauty, I think of deities and nature, everything in its natural state. So when someone calls me beautiful, I feel warm inside. Story 31. I was called pretty by a performer once. It made me feel good in the moment, so I gave her what she wanted, $1. I received a compliment and some attention. She got $1. Story 32. It makes me sad how often some girls seek attention. You should receive the same energy you give. Story 33. Handsome has more masculine and heterosexual connotations, which aligns with my personal status. If I were labeled beautiful, I would need to make adjustments to my image. Story 34. I was told this once, and I was floored. I kissed her instantly, and she kissed me back. I saw her about 16 months later. She had gotten a job at the same company I was working for and had gotten married. Story 35. I am beautiful, so I will take the compliment just the same. Who cares if they call me pretty, sexy, or beautiful? Handsome is the same thing, a compliment on the way you look, meaning positive. Story 36. A compliment is a compliment. The same goes for when someone flirts with me. I'm not into other guys, but I appreciate that someone found me attractive enough to say something. I'm not upset about another person's opinion of my attractiveness. Story 37. I would love it. It would make me feel radiant, like someone so attractive that I have transcended merely being handsome. Story 38. I have had 4 women tell me I have beautiful eyes. Given that I can still recall each circumstance, I would say it is a very positive reaction. Story 39. I was never called that until I met my fiancée. She's Russian and I'm American, and I found it unusual and surprising for her to call me beautiful. I asked her why she called me beautiful, and she said it's normal to call guys beautiful in Slavic nations. I am still in shock sometimes, but I actually started loving it more and more. I love my fiancé. We'll be getting married next year. Story 40. I have been called beautiful by women before, and it sticks with me. A woman on a dating app told me I had beautiful eyes. I have been called handsome many times, so I tend to forget it. Story 41. A woman told me that in 1996 when I took off my shirt, just before enthusiastically going down on me. I still think about it. Story 42. My girlfriend likes to tell our male cats that they are pretty princesses. I think she has told me that I am beautiful before, but I am unsure how I feel about it. I look like a lumpy potato at the moment because I just shaved my head. So if potatoes can be beautiful, I fit right in. Story 43. Good either way. I connected with someone once when I was in great shape, and she said I had a beautiful body. No offense taken. Story 44. I have been called beautiful and received similar compliments more than a few times by women. It doesn't make me feel anything, but I'm polite. Depending on the context, it may even slightly annoy me. However, I believe it would be positive for women to compliment men more frequently in this way. Story 45. I was called a very pretty man by a bisexual woman who was hitting on me once. Felt like $1,000,000. Story 46. I blinked twice and looked behind me to see who she was talking to. Turning back around, I pointed at my face in question, then immediately blushed bright red and stammered out a thank you before hunching my shoulders and shuffling off with a silly smile on my face. Story 47. I wondered if they were actually talking to me, even if I was the only one there. Then I would do a little happy dance. Story 48. I would be excited. At my age, though, I would suggest they update their prescription for glasses. Story 49. Loving the responses. I used to call him handsome all the time. I am sure he appreciated it. I often complimented him in various ways, and he would tell me to keep them coming. I frequently referred to his different features as beautiful, and he enjoyed that as well. Story 50. My wife says that to me all the time. We have a great relationship. If it's a joke, it's a joke. If it's endearing, it's endearing. Story 51. I have an idea of what beautiful means. As a tall, slightly overweight man with an untamed beard who really needs a haircut and doesn't care about how he dresses, I do not believe that I qualify as beautiful. I might consider myself handsome since some people are into that, but beautiful seems to imply traits like smooth, well-cared-for skin and long, flowing hair, or at least hair that is well-groomed. Though I guess my back hair might qualify as long, flowing locks. Don't get me wrong, I wouldn't be offended or anything, and I would appreciate the compliment if the person wasn't being strange about it. But I would be confused. Story 52. I would first store the compliment in my mind, then probably stammer while trying to thank them with a goofy smile. After the interaction, I would look for cameras. Story 53. Someone once called me beautiful when I was 16. That was 19 years ago, and I still think about how good that made me feel from time to time. Story 54. Love that. Call me pretty or beautiful. Give me sweet compliments like these and I'm yours. Honestly. Story 55. I appreciate the compliment, but I will consider it. Am I beautiful instead of handsome? Does it imply less masculinity? I will be weighing the pros and cons and considering its meaning for a while. Is it something I could change? Is it something I would want to change? Story 56. It would make my day. I have received a few compliments in my life, and I remember each one. Story 57. Compliment all the men in your life. They need it. Just saying, you smell good goes a long way. I'm a straight man, close to 50 years old. I tell my friends when they look sharp. Story 58. I used to tell my ex-husband he was beautiful all the time. He reminded me of Halder from The Lord of the Rings. Story 59. Anytime I receive a compliment, I cherish it for years. Such moments are rare. Men are often just expected to work. Story 60. I have been told I have a beautiful soul, and since I have never been called beautiful or handsome, I will take the compliment and appreciate it. Story 61. I wouldn't. I have trouble accepting compliments, something I am trying to work on. I know neither word is nice and should be taken as such. I just can't. Story 62. I was called beautiful by a stranger last summer while walking downtown during golden hour. I was waiting at a crosswalk when a group of 3 people approached me, laughing and enjoying themselves. One girl from the group walked up to me, pointed and said, "You're beautiful." before continuing on with her friends down the street. I know they were likely just feeling affectionate, but I hold that moment dear to me because it's the only time anyone has ever said that to me. Story 63. I'd feel like a Greek god. Years ago, I was literally called an Adonis by someone who was totally into me. Even though I understood the reference, it still went over my head that they were interested in me. So what I would probably do is say thanks, because I didn't believe them until years later. Story 64. I remember every compliment I have ever received, and I can count them on one hand. I would have to start using my second hand. Story 65. I went on a date with a beautiful woman, and it went well. Eventually, she told me she would be dating someone else with more chemistry, but that I was a beautiful man and would meet someone. I almost cried. No one has ever called me beautiful before. Story 66. I'm an assigned male at birth non-binary person, and that would make me feel pretty great. I think I'd rather be beautiful than handsome anyway. Story 67. Once, I got a haircut, and a friend asked another friend about me. When did Beauty and the Geek become Laguna Beach? It might be the only genuine compliment I've ever received, and it was 18 years ago. Thank you, Shelby. Story 68. I look like someone crossed Gru from Despicable Me with an Ewok. I would question their judgment. Story 69. It happened to me yesterday. I went into a wine tasting shop, and one of the ladies I was conversing with asked me if I knew that I was beautiful. I found it a rather endearing question, and I replied that I agreed with her. Story 70. This happened to me in college when I was a line cook at Applebee's. First, I was dumbfounded. Then things progressed. Story 71. I have had most of my girlfriends call me beautiful. Feels wonderful if not a bit funny. It is rare to receive compliments as a man. Most of the time we are lucky to hear, "That shirt looks nice on you." I think the only people who have ever called me handsome would be my mom or grandma, and maybe a school teacher on picture day. Story 72. I have experienced this multiple times, and it is a great confidence booster. It makes me feel like a piece of art. Story 73. I still remember that compliment. The most awkward compliment I received was, "Do you have abs? You look like you have abs." And then she realized how awkward it was and just walked away. Story 74. It wouldn't change anything. In almost 19 years of life, I have received very few genuine compliments about my appearance. A compliment is a compliment. Regardless of the wording, I gladly accept it. Story 75. I would be concerned for the person saying that. I am not a marble statue. My exterior is 70% bone, 20% fat, and 10% muscle. I have acne on my face and can never get a haircut that suits me. The statue of Perseus in the Metropolitan Museum of Art is beautiful. Art in general is beautiful. The sky is beautiful. I am beautiful by the merit of being human, but there are many more beautiful people on this street. Story 76. The first time my current girlfriend called me beautiful, I was caught off guard, kind of like, "Huh? What are you talking about?" After the initial shock, everything was fine. Story 77. I wish I felt safe complimenting men more often, like I do with women. Unfortunately, I have learned not to after many negative experiences. Story 78. It's a bit strange, but I assume it's one of those people talking about a beautiful soul or something, so I will try to act gracious and be polite. Story 79. I assumed that I was beyond handsome. Generally, women reserve the concept of a beautiful man for the highest level of male beauty. Story 80. It happened to me before. I was wearing some pants and, after a ride, I was queuing for drinks at a bar. A lady behind me tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Those pants look beautiful on you." I replied, "Meow," with a claw gesture, and she turned beetroot red. Her husband next to her just burst into laughter. Story 81. I used to hang around a group where English was their second language, and I was called beautiful a few times because it was the direct translation. I can tell you it felt incredible. Story 82. I tell men they have attractive features or are charming. I haven't received backlash, even when being told to leave or that I need to get my eyes checked, which I find amusing. I feel awkward calling them handsome. It makes me feel like I am their mother or grandmother. Story 83. I think it's a quirky word choice. I might laugh, but I generally ignore it and carry on with my life. Story 84. My girlfriend calls me beautiful all the time, probably about 20 to 30 times over the last year and a half that we've dated. It makes me feel good, no better or worse than being called handsome. Story 85. Not quite beautiful, but one day I was in the gym, upstairs, post-workout, doing my cool-down routine. I noticed across the room a girl with a friend who kept looking back and forth at me. At that time, I didn't believe myself to be attractive at all, so I was suspicious, thinking maybe she was looking at someone else or laughing at me. It wasn't until I had showered and was leaving the gym that I walked directly past her. As I passed by with her friend beside her, we made direct eye contact, and she looked me up and down with a devious smile. She then exclaimed, "He is gorgeous." To this day, I am still confused if this was a genuine sentiment because she was such an unreasonably beautiful person to say something like that about me. So needless to say, I may now be in love with her and am waiting with bated breath to see her in the gym again and muster the courage to talk to her. Could she be my future wife? Story 86. I told a guy I was seeing that he had the prettiest eyes, and he was shocked. He said he hardly received compliments like that. Story 87. At this point, I'd take anything. Women don't really call me anything, let alone handsome. That being said, I'd love to be called beautiful. Story 88. Well, leaving aside the fact that neither will ever happen, I find both to be inaccurate at best. However, I am not in charge of what others choose to say, so it is none of my business. Story 89. Men who take being called beautiful or pretty negatively are struggling with serious issues related to masculinity. It is a compliment, and since men do not often receive feedback on their appearance, it is likely a rare compliment as well. Story 90. I've been called it a handful of times, and I never know how to respond, so I just awkwardly say thanks. I remember each person who has said it to me, so it definitely left an impact each time. Story 91. A very masculine man whom I know to be straight called me beautiful a couple of months ago. I will remember that positively for the rest of my life, especially because we were in a disagreement at the time, and it came out of nowhere. He had called me handsome before, but beautiful was a surprise. Story 92. I have been called both. Beautiful feels better to me. Handsome feels like a compliment one might receive from a grandmother. Story 93. I was dropping off some heavy boxes at UPS when an elderly lady told me, "You are very strong and handy. You have muscles." I couldn't stop blushing and started walking differently. If someone calls me beautiful, I would respond, "May I treat you to dinner?" By someone, I obviously mean a girl. Story 94. I agree. It is challenging to be this attractive, but I do my best. I appreciate all the compliments I receive. Story 95. When I was called beautiful, I felt insulted. I prefer being called cute or handsome, even glamorous. However, I am not trying to look beautiful or pretty, so I never wore that combination of clothes again. Story 96. I appreciate any compliments I receive. The most common one I get is about my shirt because I often wear band shirts and people like the band. Story 97. I would be very happy to receive a compliment like that or any compliment. Really. I almost never receive compliments for anything as a man. Story 98. I would feel like someone is misleading me and wants something from me. I would feel the same way when called handsome. I am invisible. Story 99. 6 years and 10 months ago, my wife's friend told me she loved my curls and that they looked great. I still remember that as if it were yesterday. To be called beautiful would mean a lot to me. Story 100. Well, we get truly complimented so infrequently that we would probably have that mentioned in our obituaries. Ladies, feel free to let us know, we could use it. Story 101. I remember going to a girl's house when I was 18, and her mom was praising my teeth. I didn't realize I had good teeth. Clearly, I still remember this 20 years later. Story 102. One time, a guy mentioned that his girlfriend thought I was good-looking. That was almost 15 years ago. I really appreciate compliments. Story 103. I would cry tears of joy. No one ever called me beautiful, but I have always thought that many other people are beautiful. It would shock and humble me to be called beautiful by someone. Story 104. A good female friend of mine once said to me, "You have beautiful eyes and you look beautiful. If you ever want to make anyone fall in love with you, just look into their eyes." I remember that even after 20 years and will do so till I am in my grave. Story 105. This woman I dated called me both handsome and attractive, and I felt very happy. A random guy told me I have beautiful blue eyes, and I think about that often. Story 106. I'm not a man, but this sparked something in me. I often see men and think they are beautiful. It's always connected to an openness, smiling, and seeming engaged. Today, I saw a man at a table with children and their mother. He was so present in the moment that I couldn't help but think he was beautiful. I started to chastise myself for this thought, but ultimately accepted that he was beautiful. Story 107. My girlfriend got me a custom shirt for my birthday that says, "Brian, beautiful." It's a little awkward, and I mostly wear it around the house. I love her and I understand the message. Story 108. I think about it often. We don't receive many compliments. I was told that I was kind, and I still remember it. It was almost 14 years ago. One time, I received a compliment on my shoes about 3 years ago, and I have been chasing that feeling ever since. Story 109. I might be approaching this from a slightly different perspective than others, but I worry that I often appear angry and unfriendly. However, I do receive compliments from time to time, which serves as a reminder that my self-criticism is just a minor distortion I should learn to overlook. Can also make me quite flustered. Story 110. I would feel a bit offended because I think that person is just mocking me rather than genuinely appreciating my beauty. I guess I have very low confidence and self-esteem when it comes to receiving a genuine compliment. Story 111. Every man I have known whom women referred to as a beautiful man was an incredible human being. I could not be prouder. Story 112. Whenever I go to work, one of my colleagues greets me with a smile and says, "Hey, beautiful." I personally think it's amazing how such a small comment can make someone's day and bring a smile to their face. I suppose it all depends on who says it and how they say it, but I think it's quite endearing. Story 113. I thought they were crazy, and that memory would haunt me for the rest of my life, trying to figure out if they were just joking with me. It wasn't that they didn't say handsome, they were just complimenting me in general. Story 114. I receive compliments on my eyes and lips from women and am often told I'm handsome. I have been called beautiful a few times. Honestly, I don't see it myself, but it's nice to be appreciated by women. Story 115. In 6th grade, Tammy and Carrie told me I was cute while we were coming in from the lunch hour recess. We were on the steps walking up to the main entrance. It was slightly overcast and in the low 60s, with light traffic on the road next to the school. Tammy was wearing a blue windbreaker and blue jeans, while Carrie wore a hot pink hoodie with purple sleeves adorned with stars. That was 43 years ago. Why can I still see it as if it happened yesterday? Two girls I thought were pretty told me I was cute. Every encounter with a girl or woman that I wasn't immediately involved with, where they complimented my appearance, is burned into my memory, every single one. The compliment is what mattered, not the words used to express it. Story 116. I would likely consider whoever is in front of me with questions such as, do they need glasses? Have they smoked too much? Or, is English their second language? I have never been called handsome or good-looking, much less beautiful. Even my wife and mother have never gone beyond saying, "You look nice," or "You're presentable." Story 117. Yeah, I would take that and put it in my pocket and enjoy it every now and then. It would be lovely. Story 118. Being called handsome by your grandpa many years ago when you were a kid is the best feeling. However, if I were randomly called beautiful instead of handsome by someone I don't know, I wouldn't think too much of it. It's hard to take some compliments at face value, right? If someone I love said it, I would truly appreciate that. Story 119. I love being pretty and want to be beautiful. I'm perceived as a man, but I truly enjoy being pretty. Tell me I'm pretty or beautiful, maybe even cute. Let me know if I'm really slaying. I want to know. I'm not a creep, so I'll just blush and tell my partner. Story 120. 15 years ago, a homeless woman I used to sit and talk to told me I had beautiful eyes and a beautiful soul. I think about it all the time. Story 121. Either way, someone has very serious vision problems, but that is my only concern. Story 122. I have been called a beautiful man to be exact. I'm not sure I can completely believe she meant it because my skin is pretty damaged, but I still think about it nearly every day. Story 123. I would initially be taken aback since I haven't been called by anyone except my mom. Then I would feel flattered. Story 124. I work with a group of older colleagues, so I would assume one of them is trying to make fun of my long hair. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.